What's up, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of Bets and Ball Games with Edwards and Greeson for Southeastern 16. We're recording on Friday, July 12th, a little after noon Eastern. Let's get started by, as always, telling you that Bet Online is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right up to the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. They've got every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, that's all caps, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. What's up, Mr. Jay Greeson, joining us from the Chattanooga Times Free Press headquarters?
Yep, down here in beautiful downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee, where it is, I think, Eddie Murphy's turn as James Brown on Saturday Night Live in the 80s, where he got in the hot tub. In the hot tub. Woo, it's hot. Damn hot in the hot tub. It's hot. It's hot in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now, brother.
It is hot in Florida as well. And it is a beautiful downtown Chattanooga. I've been there multiple times. It's been a long time, but it is a beauty spot. All right, today's the South Carolina Gamecocks. But before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about SEC Media Days next week in Dallas. So set your DVRs on the SEC network and watch all your coach interviews. I'm sure Mr. Sankey will have lots to say, and we'll get to that. But first, we're going to do our SEC head football coaching rankings. All right. I don't know what Jay's look like. He doesn't know what mine look like, but I know we both got one person at number one, especially with Mr. Saban gone, and that is Kirby Smart.
And there's a sizable gap, right? I mean, what Kirby has done, and to get this out of the way on the front, and you and I talked about this as we were kicking around show ideas for today. One of the ways I look at the rankings of team to team, of program to program, if you're talking about trying to rank quarterbacks or coaches or whatever else, would I trade my guy for your guy? So that tells me, where do we think? I don't know if Kirby has the same amount of success even at Tennessee. Or I'm not saying just because Georgia is pumping a whole lot of money into the program. Him being an alumni, him being a former Georgia player, all of the cosmic tumblers have clicked, and it is a perfect recipe for, as long as he stays there, somebody's going to have to beat them. Otherwise, if I had an AP vote, they're preseason one. I mean, I'm sorry. They're preseason one until somebody proves me otherwise, and he is number one in the country. Now, it's also a very strange offseason, and I know it's not all three of these guys left, but I can make a hard argument that the four best college football coaches of the last generation are Jim Harbaugh, Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, and Kirby Smart. And only one of them is coaching college football. I mean, one's in the NFL. The other two are on ESPN and Fox. I mean, Urban probably will end up in jail sooner rather than later, because we know his history is his history.
Be an absolute scumbag of the earth. Yep.
If being a scumbag was illegal, he is Al Capone of the scumbag world.
He's Zeus.
He's Joe Pesci's Tommy from Goodfellas. Go get your shine box, Urban. How about that?
Hey, get your shine box. Make sure he's here when I get back.
Yeah, man.
Hey, and look, and as I think I think it was when we were talking about Georgia 6-7 weeks ago. I was like, I mean, I'm worried this freight train might roll for another 15 or 20 years.
This could be a Saban. I mean, we talked about how crazy what Saban did and how unimaginable it is. But now Georgia's got multiple mulligans to get in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And if they get their dudes healthy and get into December with all that talent and the way Kirby's rolling, dear Lord, don't let him get an NIL machine like Tennessee has. And because then it's funny. We thought Tom Brady was doing things that we'd never see again. Patty Mahomes may make a run at Tom Brady. We thought Nick Saban was doing things we'd never see again. Kirby Smart might make a run at Nick Saban.
Please, God, no. All right, so 2 more arrests for speeding. What in the world? I know it's not like sexual assault or anything, but this started with 2 fatalities. And ever since those 2 fatalities, what are they like? I don't really know the number. I mean, it's got to have been 15, if not 20. And one of them yesterday was drag racing. That was the charge.
Well,
that's what the 2 people died from doing. Like, come on, people.
Can I go ahead and place a small wager somewhere, anywhere, that Kirby's going to handle this question way better than Mike Gundy handled the DUI question earlier this week at the Big 12 media event where he went, "Oh, man, we all do that. What's going on? Have you seen my mullet? My mullet's cool."
Mike Gundy's mama taught him to tell the truth. And he was just telling the damn truth, because I've seen him drinking beers here on 38 at one of my favorite bars. So,
hey, you want to feel old?
No, but go ahead.
All right. It wasn't that long ago that Mike Gundy told us he was a man. He's 40, right?
Right.
Was he 56 now?
I guess that right.
No, he's 56. That sucks.
Oh, I know. That was 16 years ago.
Yeah, Mike Gundy's now an old man. He's 56.
Wow, that is wild. Okay, back to the coaching rankings. All right, I don't know if you're gonna. So you're gonna go well, you can do your tier thing, and I'll agree or whatever, or comment, what have you. I just did it in order, and I know you'll have this guy in your tier too, and I'm sure I could name the same. Well, actually, I would have.
Kiffin is 2 for me. Kiffin is 2 for me.
Okay, he's 2 for me also. Okay. And then I got Brian Kelly. Who you got?
I don't know how good he is.
Who you got 3?
I think what Sark has done at Texas, and I know you hate him because he was a Falcons OC and was terrible.
No, he's the best OC in the NFL between the 20s. And then inside the red zone, he was the worst OC in NFL flipping history. And our kicker.
This is not our NFC West, NFC South OC rankings.
This is true.
What he's done at Texas is commendable. I mean, and I think he's a dude. I would probably put Brian Kelly's pedigree demands being in that second tier. And then my outside pick in that second tier, who I probably rate higher than most just about anybody, I think Eli Drinkwitz is really good at this.
I like Drinkwitz too. And we'll get to him in a second. Okay, so your 3 was who? I'm sorry.
My 4 in the second tier.
Okay.
So all right. 2 through 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. In whatever, Kiffin's 2, and then jumble them however you want to with Sark, Kelly, and Drinkwitz.
Okay. All right. I like Kalen DeBoer a lot, and we're about to find out a lot. But let's remember, Washington absolutely sucked before he got there. In fact, as I'm getting to Washington's page, they went 4-8 in 2021, and then he goes 11-2 in 2022, and then he goes 14-1 and gets to the CFP finals, and that was the best Pac-12 we'd seen in more than a decade, in my opinion, and that was with USC being way down. So I got DeBoer 4, okay, and your tier 2 went all the way to 5. See, I don't have Sark or Drink in my top 5. I got Heupel at number 5, and you
I
know,
can see that. I could expand that second tier for Heupel.
okay,
I'm
fair.
not sold on DeBoer. I'm not
Okay,
sold. Call me an
we about
Auburn
to find out a
graduate.
lot on him.
Call me an Auburn graduate who just watched a West Coast guy come down and burn the plains down
Yeah,
and whatever. I mean, show me and I'll admit I'm wrong. But no, I'm 100% fine with Heupel being in that second tier. And you're also talking about in terms of security. Heupel's got as much security. You take Kirby off the board. Heupel's
he
right
might
there
have.
with Kiffin on. I mean, those people
Yes,
will lay down in traffic for you. So
yes.
no, I'm 100% good with Heupel because not only did he turn Hendon Hooker into a guy who I think could be a good pro, that offense, man, the stat I saw is Josh Heupel's had more 1,200-yard receivers in his time than the University of Georgia has ever had, ever.
Hey, and I tell you what, just a little brief side note, because I'm real bullish on the Detroit Lions this year. I think if Jared Goff gets hurt, I think Hendon Hooker, because now he's healthy, because last year, I don't even know when was he even dressing out? Maybe later in the year. I don't even know. He was
Maybe
probably the number
late.
3,
Hey, he
maybe
doesn't.
late.
I mean, the South Carolina game 2 years ago when Hendon was a senior was a debacle. And I can remember you and I were doing shows and hanging out and talking on the radio and doing whatever else. And I was bullish on Hendon Hooker from the very beginning. Had
Oh, I loved him at Vautech.
had big money on him and his Heisman props. And when he got hurt, man, it gutted me. But
Yeah.
if he doesn't get hurt, nobody wants a piece of Tennessee. South Carolina jumped up and there were whispers that Tennessee was tipping plays or they were stealing signs or however whatever was going on. And that was just one of those crossing of the arrows that just turns into a disaster. Hendon Hooker was a dude now.
Spencer Rattler was a dude that night.
You bring up something right there.
The Saints got a steal in round 5.
What an unbelievable steal. I mean, I
That a
know he
boy,
looks like
Mickey.
Dennis Johnson, so, I mean, he's not going to be super pretty on the football card, but, I mean, dear Lord, Spencer Rattler can spin it.
That's what your wife got on you about, wasn't it?
What?
Spencer Rattler. Oh, I know she's gotten on you about a lot of things, but when she watched our show, she got on you about Spencer Rattler. Okay. Anyhow,
I'm certain I'm going to get chastised. I'm going to get chastised by the missus, but we do a debrief, and here are the things that I should have rethought and used a filter and not opened my big yapper. But that's why I got fired from local radio here in Chattanooga. It is what it is.
That was classic when I said that was what your wife got on you about. And you're like, what? Like which time? There's been more than once for sure.
All right, hey, can we start from the beginning?
All right. Number 6 for me. All right, I'm gonna give your boy Sark. I'm putting your boy Sark at 6, and you've already had him. So I guess
I'll go DeBoer as the top of the class in that third tier. Third tier, although, I mean, if you're talking about job pressure and security, DeBoer is way down in the bottom of this third tier because the third tier includes Stoops, Freeze, a whole bunch of guys who.
But Stoops has got plenty of security.
Yeah. I mean, Elko's going to get multiple years because they hated Jimbo, and they can't afford, even with Texas A&M's pockets, they can't afford to now pay somebody else to go away. Can they?
So, I'm going 7 Elko, and I know that's kind of, we've only got a 2-year sample size, and I know the ACC's not great, but like what he did was at Duke, the only comparison that even jumps to mind is James Franklin at Vandy in 3 years. I mean, it was just I know Cutcliffe had a few good years, or he had a lot of good years for Duke standards, but he had a couple. I want to say Cutcliffe won 10 games once or twice. Anywho, what Elko did at Duke, I thought was extremely impressive, especially because he took over when it was like the Cutcliffe's worst time of his tenure was the very end. So I like what Elko did, but that's just kind of speculating a little bit. So if anybody wants to dog cuss me on having Elko at 7, I get it, but that's my 7. I'm gonna go with Mr. Freeze at 8, because I know the record wasn't great last year, but Georgia and Alabama were so damn fortunate to escape, and
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the
I
other
know Hugh
thing.
Freeze can freaking coach. We've
Yeah,
known that a
but
long time.
then how do you explain the kid who transferred to Vandy? How do you explain that turd in the punch bowl when uh,
Oh,
in
Diego
order?
Pavia coming in there and
Yeah,
beating them. I got you. Yeah.
I mean, how do you explain that? You weren't prepared. You were looking
Right.
ahead. You were recruiting. You were doing everything other than getting your team ready to play.
And
And I'm
remember,
an Auburn graduate, and I want him to succeed.
yeah. And hey, remember New Mexico State, they went into Liberty, as I'm trying to find either of their pages right now. I think this is they
And
went
beat
yeah, here.
Freeze then
Yeah, it's like here I'm about to get the number. Where's
when
the
he had Malik Willis.
Yeah, they were like a 27-point favorite or some shit. And they lost by double digits.
My wife's
So,
going to chastise you for your potty mouth.
right, of course. So New Mexico State owns Hugh Freeze.
Yes.
But that dude can still coach. I am questioning why he did not go in the portal and get a somebody to really compete with Peyton Thorne this year, but that's my only question.
Unless he thinks the kid from Carrollton
Is that
who
Hank
has
Brown,
committed to no, the
Walker
kid
White?
Juju somebody who he's committed to USC. He's top 5 quarterback in the country in the 2025 cycle.
Oh,
Unless he just didn't want to scare that kid off,
I got you.
maybe. I mean, I don't know,
Right.
but Peyton Thorne's going to have a better offensive line, and I mean, I expect Auburn to be pretty competitive.
Yeah.
They're still a year away, and he needed to recruit a whole bunch of the state. They're going to be sneaky good on the perimeter
Oh, their
because
wide receivers are going to be good for a couple
and
years.
Hugh Freeze put together a wide receiver room in Oxford too. Now, I mean,
He put an
those
NFL wide receiver
dudes
room.
were dudes.
Oh yeah, I mean Metcalf, AJ. Whatever happened to that third guy that it was really good? But I don't think he made it in the league. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name. But anyhow, all right. So I got Freeze 8. So I did Drinkwitz dirty, didn't I? I only got him 9th. I probably should switch him and Elko. And then I got Stoops 10. All right, where are we on your tiers? Have I messed everything up, or have I
No, we're
covered all
still good on
three?
the third tier. We got Stoops.
Freeze, or did he make tier 2?
No, Freeze did not make tier 2. I did put Heupel
Tier
into
2.
tier 2, which got me to 6. But in whatever order, I'm going to give DeBoer, Freeze. You got to put Stoops there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think Brent Venables is there. I mean, I actually think the Oklahoma program is going to be more what he wants them to be this year than they have been. Defensive, run the football, kind of take on his mentality kind of program. But I think he's in that third tier as well. So,
Yeah. What was I going to say on Venable? Oh, because we mentioned it last week. I really like this D coordinator he got, Zach Alley from Rich Rod at Jack State. That mentored under him at
Are
Clemson.
we under? I mean, and then we'll talk about it because it's the team we're going to break down today. Where's Beamer?
I got him 12. So I went all the way to Drink 9, Stoops 10, Venables 11, and I got Beamer 12. He's recruited well, and he damn sure had him up to beat Clemson and Tennessee in November of 22, but last year was a major disappointment.
So inconsistent. I mean,
Yeah.
so inconsistent.
Yeah. Now he
The
has recruited. He's recruited well though. And he was a lot of the recruiting under Spurrier. I mean, he was kind of the catalyst when they got Jadeveon Clowney and they got Lattimore and they got Stephon Gilmore when they got 3 in a row Mr. Footballs in South Carolina, and Clemson was doing good at that time.
Alshon Jeffrey was in that group.
Oh God, was he a dude? Sidney Rice. Yeah, they Spurrier had some pretty good teams there. Yeah,
Man,
so
side note on a tangent on our South Carolina day. If you take Auburn out of the equation, I don't know if I've ever felt worse about a college football player getting injured
than Marcus Lattimore.
When Marcus Lattimore got hurt.
I was sick to my stomach for at least 24 to 48
What
hours.
an absolute boss he was.
And I had to go on a radio show, actually, that was on Mad Dog Radio Network like 30 minutes later, and I almost canceled. I was just like, I was sick to my stomach. I mean, Prothrow injury, Theismann, but Lattimore might have been the worst I've ever seen.
Tim Crumry in the Super Bowl with the Bengals.
Oh, yeah, that was
when his leg breaks and it's up in the air for like a second and his foot starts spinning.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because Lattimore was this close to come to Auburn with Michael Dyer.
Oh, hey, Bob, Michael Dyer, what a waste of talent.
Yeah, well, I'm certain he's doing 5 to 10 somewhere.
I mean, what are the odds? Because if you're giving me plus money, I might be on that as well. Yes, but hey, at least he kept running against Oregon. He wasn't down yet. That's
advisor tip.
He kept running against Oregon, and I swear, man, I freaking Gene Chizik, he's celebrating like they won the Natty, and they haven't even won the game yet, and he's kicking a field goal when there's like 10 seconds left, and I'm like, at least do a QB sneak, dude. You got a timeout left. I mean, what if you get a bad snap on the extra point? I was beside myself for like 5-10 minutes before they kicked the field goal, and
we had Cam. It didn't matter.
It would have mattered if there was a bad snap on the field goal or the field goal. It didn't matter. All right. So I had Beamer 12. I'm just going to give you my rest. Pittman 13, Billy Bob Napier 14, Levy 15. I think Clark Lee's horrible.
Yeah, I do too.
I think he's awful, and I think he'll be gone after this year.
I think there's a real chance that 13 through 16 on your list may need to polish up that resume.
I mean, Mississippi State has done a one and done just last year, so surely they'll give Levy a minute. But okay, that was good convo. All right, we better get to the Gamecocks pretty quick, but just a few things we're like looking forward to seeing at SEC Media Days. All right, I obviously want to see the media pepper Billy Bob with. He handles the media pretty good, but and look, I'm always critical of Napier. I do think he's good people. I do think he is a pretty good recruiter, and I think he works hard and everything. But how many times I got to say it, man? This is this big old flipping battleship we call Gator football, and we don't do 5-year rebuilds, asshole. I mean, W's, need them now.
He's in over his head. He's in over his head. Period.
So is the AD.
Hey, he was great at Louisiana, and then they dropped. He was so good there that they dropped the Lafayette. So they didn't think they didn't need it anymore.
He was good there.
I actually think it's a good thing for Kalen DeBoer that this media day is in Dallas rather than Birmingham.
Yes,
because of
of
all
course.
of the show. I mean, I know all the usual suspects uh, are going to be there. I mean, Kaiser Sose, Verbal Kent. I mean, all the guys are gonna. We're going to round up the usual suspects, and they'll be in Dallas. But it's not going to be the horde of people standing outside and allow Kalen DeBoer is going to be the most wanted interview there. I think Billy Bob's going to be an interesting soundbite. I think what has happened, what you referenced with Kirby and the drag racing, is going to be an interesting soundbite.
Yes.
But I think the most interesting soundbite is going to come from Greg Sankey, because I think the changing landscapes of what we know as college sports, I hope he gets peppered with who is on your wish list to add in the next phase of expansion. Because to even pretend that the SEC and the Big Ten are not looking at big fish like FSU, Clemson, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, all of these schools that bring value to their program and to their brand, is a fool's errand. You simply cannot justify, if he has the audacity to look to the crowd and say, we're happy with the 16 we have, he's full of crap. Period. They're all every good AD I've ever talked to in 25 years of sports journalism, he could be completely happy with every coach he has on staff. And he has a list of names for every sport in his desk drawer in case any of them leave. Greg Sankey already has a list of schools on who is next, because our buddies at Southeastern 16 are going to have to go to Southeastern 18 quick, and there's probably going to be Southeastern 20 quicker than that. So it is not when, it's not if, it's when. And I hope that is the big talking point when he addresses the media to open the news conference on, I guess, Tuesday.
You think North Carolina is the number one target?
I think North Carolina is high on that list. I think there will be a lot of discussion about FSU, but I think FSU and Florida are going to go their separate ways. I think the same thing happens with Clemson, but the ACC is a doomed road. They don't have anywhere close to the financial agreements that the Big Ten and the SEC have already acquired 59%, 58% of the college football payout from the expanded playoff. So they already now have the lion's share of this. So being the big fish in a small pond means you're a poor fish in a poorer pond these days. So don't tell me about, I mean, Vandy's going to make as much, if not more, TV money than FSU or Clemson out of the SEC moving forward, than Clemson and FSU being marketably more successful, but in a less marketable TV deal and a less marketable revenue share out of the college football playoff. So you're telling me FSU doesn't want to swap spaces with Vandy? Please.
Right. What's the biggest business company in Nashville? Because, like, Memphis is getting all this FedEx money. Like, why is Vandy not getting any money from some big company in Nashville? What's the stud hoss of a company in Nashville? I'm blanking. I can't think of anybody.
Well, I mean, the biggest version of it is, of course, country music. But right outside of Nashville, there's a huge Nissan plant that has become
because that's what the Titan Stadium is.
Correct. Yeah. And I want to say it's in Smyrna, Tennessee. God bless Smyrna. Georgia. But I mean, you look around and I mean, everybody's got their hand out, brother.
Yeah, you are correct. All right, so on to the Gamecocks. All right, here is the betting menu from our good friends at Bet Online. So in week 1, they have South Carolina minus 21 versus the Monarchs of Old Dominion, and the total is 56. But I will point out that on May 24th, Bet Online opened this number at 17, so it's gone up 4 points. On June 11th, they moved to 18. July 8th, they moved to 20. And on the 9th, they moved to 21. The total opened 54.5 on July 8th, and it moved to 56 on the 9th. So there's their week 1 game with ODU. All right, to make the CFP, this is one of the worst numbers I've ever seen in my life. 12-1. It should be 1,200-1.
Yeah.
To win the CFP, it's 250-1. To win the
Should
SEC,
be 25,000 to 1.
yeah, and to win the SEC, it's 100-1. So BetOnline does not have any South Carolina games of the year. Neither does DraftKings, but Circa has South Carolina plus 10 at home to LSU in week 3, and in the regular season finale at Clemson, where they won 2 years ago, they are plus 13. BetOnline season win total for the Gamecocks 5.5, shaded to the over minus 130. The under is even money. Their recruiting class per 247 Sports Composite, number 18 overall, number 16 in terms of transfer specific guys, 38 commits, 2 5-stars, 12 4-stars. There are 22 transfers. 4 of them are 4-stars. Of the 16 incoming freshmen, 12 were in for the spring. The 5-star freshman edge, Dylan Stewart, was the 19th best recruit in the country, the number 2 edge rusher in the nation, and the number 1 guy out of the Washington, D.C. area. And unlike their 5-star last year, Nick Harbor, who was not in for spring, Dylan Stewart was in for spring. And I remember last year I was like, okay, they got this badass 5-star receiver who, if memory serves, was number 11 in the country on 247 Sports, but he wasn't in for the spring, and that made me think he wasn't going to have maybe as good an impact. And he had a disappointing freshman year, but you can see the talent. 12 catches, 195 yards, 1 touchdown, but they need him to really step up big time. All right, I'll get into some more personnel specifics here in a minute, but I'm not interested in any of these preseason bets on South Carolina.
No, 100% no. There's no way. I mean, I don't even know. One of my neighbors is a huge South Carolina fan. I mean, huge. And South Carolina is a fun place to see a game. I've been blessed to see games at every SEC stadium this side of College Station. And that's before Texas and Oklahoma have been added, but hopefully I can add those to the list. South Carolina, now it's out there. It feels like you're going to like a county fair, and then it just, it's this huge venue, but that place gets enormously loud.
Yes, it does.
There's no way you could add multiple zeros on the back of all of those odds, and I'm still not taking. I mean, you said South Carolina win the SEC was 100-1.
Yes,
I wouldn't bet it 10,000 to 1. Would you?
No. Nope. Zero interest in doing that. Unless you had something else.
Well, it's a real interesting crossroads for that program. Because I think Beamer could be a guy. I mean, I think he could be one of those guys that's energetic, that leads a program. He recruits well. He's likable. But they went 5-7 last year, and they were, just egregiously erratic. 5 games they scored 37 or more. The other 7 games they scored fewer than 20. I mean, it's just hard to figure what you're going to get. And now you go into a year, I can tell you as an Auburn graduate, if you're banking on Robbie Ashford, good luck with that.
Right. so so I thought they massively overachieved in year one. So Muschamp's last 2 years, they went 4-8 and 2-8. Not only did they go 7-6, they kicked the ever living mud out of North Carolina as an 11-point underdog, 38-21 in the Mayo Bowl. So I thought that first year ended on a great note. They had really good recruiting, and then 2022 it was kind of going sideways, and then you just beat the snot out of fifth-ranked Tennessee, and you go to Death Valley, and as a 14-point underdog, you rally and end a 7-year losing streak to Clemson. And I think of those 7 games, I want to say 6 of them were double-digit beatdowns, if I'm remembering correctly. But so 2022, I think you got to say it was a good season. Good season.
Absolutely. And he built a whole lot of goodwill
Yes.
with the memories of November, because there are, I mean, with the way college football is balanced right now, and not to continually go back to Auburn, when Auburn plays Alabama well or beats Alabama, it reflects well on the head coach. When he beat Clemson, he earned a whole lot of good faith within that fan base in Columbia, South Carolina, and rightly so, because Clemson had been dominating the state for a really long time.
Yeah, and he's developing a nice little rivalry with Mark Stoops in Kentucky. Oh my gosh, did I just spill on myself?
Yeah, but
Who cares? Are you talking about the spill? Or are you talking about
no,
the rivalry with
no.
Kentucky?
I mean, do you really want to develop a football rivalry with Kentucky? If you could develop, hey, Billy Donovan got major props for developing a basketball rivalry with Kentucky.
Correct.
That is
Yes.
worthy of a visor tip.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Touche. Well said. No, next topic. I was stupid of me to say. All right. There was something I was gonna get to before Phil Steele. Okay, let's just go to Phil Steele's national unit rankings, which I was actually a little surprised that they were ranked so high in a lot of these. I was very surprised, actually. So,
Phil's very high on my unit, to be quite honest.
right.
Yeah, I mean, my unit's ranked really high.
All right, number 57 at quarterback.
The missus is not going to like that one.
Number 22 at running back. Number 28 at wide receiver. Number 20 D line. Number 21 linebacker. Number 29 DB. Number 26 special teams. So they're in the top 29 at every position group except for quarterback, where it's going to be you've got the aforementioned Robbie Ashford. You've got a transfer from Oklahoma and Davis Bevel. But Phil Steele's got Lenoris Sellers listed as the starter, which, it's just a projection. So he was a redshirt freshman last year. He only attempted 4 passes, but he completed all 4 for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. He only had 5 rushing attempts, but 51 yards, 1 touchdown, 10.2 yards per carry average. I have no idea if that was the end of the game against Furman or Vandy or what, but anywho, those are the stats. And coming out of high school, Lenoris Sellers, he was only a 3-star quarterback and was ranked the number 34 quarterback in the country. And he was a true freshman last year, right? Yeah, and redshirted because he only played 3 games. So we'll see at quarterback. I love Rocket Sanders. He got hurt early last year, screwed up his whole season. But of course, he came back for the Florida game and all of a sudden was healthy and ran for over 100 yards that day. But he's transferred from Arkansas, but he was nasty 2 years ago when he ran for 1,443 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, 6.5 yards per carry, and 28 catches, 271 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If he's healthy, Rocket Sanders is one of the best running backs in the country.
I completely agree. And on the other side of the ball, they've got Debo Williams at linebacker, and he is a bona fide mother. I mean,
Yes.
that guy, I know a couple things. I'm going to draft, if I'm an NFL GM, I'm going to draft a Debo. If I'm looking for an orthodontist for my kids, probably not going to a Debo. But if that dude's playing linebacker for my team, I'm 1,000% on board. Because I mean, he had north of 100 tackles last year, and now he's back. But
100.
this,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just saying 113 tackles last year, 9 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 passes broken up, 3 QB hurries. So he had 113. The number 2 leading tackler only had 76 tackles. So he's getting the lion's share of the tackles.
Well, he's like Ray in sitting on the bench at Hoosiers when Norman Dale tells him to follow South Bend Central's best player and pretend like he's gum. And I want to know what flavor he is, and then he fouls out and he looks over and he goes, "It was Dentine." That's who Debo Williams is. I mean, Debo Williams. If the football is anywhere,
Yes.
Debo Williams may go tackle like an 8-year-old standing in section 106 who just has a game-ready football.
Yes. The other 4-star transfers besides Rocket Sanders for South Carolina, Demetrius Knight from Charlotte, 96 tackles, 5.5 TFLs, 3 INTs, 1 pick 6 last year for Charlotte. And then there's I'm sorry here. Defensive lineman DeAndre Jules from Pitt. That D-line coach at Pitt, I always forget his name, but he develops some ball players. He had 7.5 TFLs last year, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. And then, excuse me, edge rusher Kyle Kennard from Georgia Tech, who in his career has 115 career tackles, 21.5 TFLs, 12.5 sacks, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. They also got a good linebacker from Pitt in Bangola Kamara, who I'm sure will make Jay's all SEC name squad that he'll have ready, I'm sure, in the next few weeks.
But are you giving me homework now? All right. Before we go game by game, I think the most important thing, and I think Beamer recruits at a pretty sneaky good level. I mean, in borderline sneaky great level, both in the portal and in high school. And South Carolina, just as a state, is sneaky good with talent. I'm not saying it's Georgia or LSU or Louisiana or Florida, but South Carolina's got some programs that have some dudes. But the simple statement across all of this, South Carolina was next to last in sacks defensively and allowed 41 sacks offensively, and that was with Spencer Rattler, an experienced quarterback who probably could handle the pressure a heck of a lot better than anybody in that QB room right now. So if they're not going to get better on the lines of scrimmage, then any and all conjecture about skill set, about coaching, about additions, subtractions, all the rest of it, if they are not noticeably better across the front on both sides, this could be a long year in Columbia.
Yeah, and my apologies. I got to make a correction. I said they were in the top 29 in every position group. I left out O-line because they were unranked nationally, and Phil Steele has them 13th in the SEC. Now, I will just for conversation purposes here, because that is a good point by you if they're not better on the O-line and D-line. So I'm just going through the 22 transfers, and I'll tell you how many are on O-line and D-line. Gilbert Edmond, 3-star edge rusher from FSU. Kamar Bell, O-lineman from FAU. Torricelli Simpkins III, maybe a dark horse on Greason's all-name squad. He's an interior offensive lineman from North Carolina Central.
He related to Thurston Howell III? I mean,
Not
is this
sure.
a 3-hour tour? I mean,
they got a D lineman from Alabama, Monkel Goodwine. They got an offensive tackle from Oklahoma, Aaron Parks.
Never badmouth Goodwine.
Don't ever. I would mention
Those are
Kennard.
words to live by.
I mentioned Kennard, the edge rusher from Georgia Tech, 4-star transfer. I mentioned DeAndre Jules, the 4-star transfer D lineman. And there you go. So I got some help on the excuse me, O-line and D lines, but I'm glad you pointed out so I could correct my mistake. Yeah, the O-line is not expected to be very good, and maybe that's why they went after Ashford. And it sounds like Sellers is a dual threat guy, so because they might need their quarterback running for his life, and Ashford can run it.
No, he's fast.
Yeah,
No, and he is a great athlete. But
he will be on the field in certain packages.
well, I wish he had stayed at Auburn. I mean, but I just wish they'd figured out a way to get him at some place other than quarterback because he couldn't throw a fit as a toddler. So, I mean, his everybody in the ballpark knew that when he was on the field, it was going to be some sort of midline option, some sort of read play, or some sort of bubble screen. I mean, when Ashford would come on the field at Auburn, the safeties would go off and they'd bring in more linebackers because they didn't have to worry about anything 25 yards downfield.
Well, he had a big arm. You just he wasn't very accurate.
Yeah,
He
but
had a
again,
strong arm.
well, he I mean,
Well, you watched him a lot more than I did.
he
But
couldn't throw a good party in New Orleans on New Year's Eve. That's how bad he threw.
Ooh, that's not very accurate. All right, South Carolina. Here we go with the season win total as we are getting deep. This is one of our longer shows in a minute. All right,
I've rambled. It's me.
Oh no, I've rambled as well. All right, so South Carolina W against Old Dominion for me. L at Kentucky.
Yep.
Same 1-1. 10-point underdog to LSU. Hey, LSU's defense is not very good, but L, yeah, 1-2. Akron at home, W 2-2. 2 weeks to prepare for the Rebels will not matter, even though
Nope.
it's at home, October 5th. L 2-3
Yep.
at Alabama and at Oklahoma back to back. LL.
Yep.
2-5 going to the bye week. Okay, 2-5 going to the bye week.
Hot seat talk. Hot seat talk.
Is it? Well, I'm sure chatter, but is it legit talk? Okay, I mean, who knows? All right,
Yeah.
A&M at home with
Lost.
2 weeks to prepare. Let me see what A&M's got the week. I know I'm probably going lost too, but A&M the week before has LSU at home. Yeah, I you know what? So Phil Steele, he's bullish on these national unit rankings. He's got South Carolina finishing ahead of Kentucky and Auburn. But anyway, just throwing it out there. All right, A&M at home. I give them a chance there, but I will go L. 2-6 at Vandy.
Win.
Me too. 3-6. Missouri at home.
L.
3-7. Wofford at home. Win. 4-7. At Clemson. 4-8. I like the under, and it's even money on the under. Isn't that what I said?
And honestly,
Sign me up to the under.
Is this now number 3 on our power rankings of over under bets? We're both bullish on Ole Miss and Missouri over. South Carolina's schedule is brutal.
Yes.
They don't have Georgia,
or Texas.
But I mean, other than Vandy, there's no cupcake in that SEC gauntlet.
Well, hey,
they got Clemson out of conference.
Well, they're a 10-point home underdog to LSU, so that would say that they're at least a 10-point or more underdog at home to Ole Miss. So there's 2 double-digit dog spots. At Alabama, double-digit dog spot. At Oklahoma, most likely, that's 4.
At Clemson,
5, where they are plus 13. Okay, double-digit dog to Missouri, maybe?
Yeah.
Possibly. That's 6 double-digit dog spots. And they got to win 6
to clear the over.
When you're betting overs like Missouri and Ole Miss, you got to worry about quarterbacks getting hurt. Whoa, man. We might have to repower rank our season win total bets. South Carolina is in my top 3 on 100% under.
I'm with you.
All
Hey,
right.
are the guys in diapers gonna fight each other this weekend? You got any picks for our people with
Yes.
folks
Yes.
showing up in their underwear?
Yes, indeed, I do. But I have not watched anything from weigh-ins this morning yet. Oh, in fact, it's out in Denver, so it's probably just starting. But I do have one pick, or it's one fight. I like the side and total. And thank you for reminding me. And actually, I have notes on it right here. I believe. Where's my Drew Dober notes? Well, well. All right. So I like Drew Dober. Oh, here we go. Here they are. So Drew Dober in a lightweight fight at UFC Denver tomorrow. It's basically a pick 'em, but there's a couple of books have him at minus 105, 12-6 in his last 18 octagon appearances. But like all six of the losses to top 10 guys, he's kind of been a fringe top 10 to 15 guy for like 5 years now. He's fighting Jean Silva, who's only making his third UFC appearance. So I like Dober at minus 105. I also like under 1.5 rounds at a minus 106 price at FanDuel. So of Dober's 27 wins, 14 knockouts, 6 subs, so 20 finishes. And Jean Silva, 9 of his 15 fights have ended in round one. He's 13-2 overall with 10 KOs and 2 submissions. So that's a high finishing rate, 12 out of 13. So I got under 1.5, minus 106, and Dober minus 105. Tell them about Jay's plays. And
Jay's plays, which has been riding the man, the myth, the machine, Paul Skeens, and
per
his
your mention
strikeout
the other day,
total. He hit for us again on Thursday with 11 Ks and 7 innings on 99 pitches. And tragically, they took him out of the game after 21 outs, no hits allowed because of, God bless America, rest the arm. Well, yeah.
load management.
Well, I got some load management for you. I mean, if you got to believe that he's dating Livy Dunn, he's fully control of his load management, don't you think?
I mean, I think she's in control of his load management, and
Absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
Phil Steele would be
So
bullish on his unit probably.
yeah, Phil Steele, quite he's number one ranked starting pitcher unit. The Jay's Plays is the afternoon email. You can sign up for it at timesfreepress.com. You can, where you can also see the 5 at 10, which I write every morning at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, and just try to have a little fun like Brian and I do here. Bets and ball games, people. We're
Happy
close.
Friday.
We're getting closer.
Closer. We're getting closer. I didn't mention I'm okay with Rose Namajunas at the UFC Denver main event in a parlay, and you'll love her nickname, Jay. It's Thug Rose Namajunas.
I'm not going to
Like,
hire her to be my accountant.
or your babysitter.
No.
All right. You can check out my work at Major Wager. I'm almost done with my Ole Miss preview. Can't guarantee it's going to make the website today, but in the next 24 to 48 hours. I don't really have deadlines like Greeson anymore. Anywho, all right. Everybody have a great, safe weekend. And I apologize for the Kentucky blurriness on my screen. CenturyLink, worst company in America, but you see I'm back over at my buddy's house, so everything
Hey,
should be.
one more thing. If anybody out there has any questions they want us to answer, especially after Media Day, feel free to put them in the comments, and Brian will share them, and we'll cover them next week, because I know we've still got a couple 3 schools left to do our over-unders on, but next week's going to be a whole lot of the reaction of what happens in Dallas.
Yep, and you always hit us up on Twitter. See our handles there with any questions or things you want us to address on the show. And shout out to one of our commenters who wisely corrected me. I was going off the 247 Sports Composites list of transfers, and I mentioned Kentucky having a 4-star transfer wide receiver, Raymond Cottrell. Apparently, he left. in like late May or June. He left Kentucky. So thanks for correcting me on that. Everybody have a great weekend. We are over and out.